There's a lot going on in our country right now, in our state right now, in my heart right now, in my head right now, probably in yours too. How'd you like the songs I picked this morning? Do you notice how I cherry-picked through the verses and got the ones I can actually agree with? I treasure that phrase in America the Beautiful. God, mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. I didn't make that up. That's been part of it all along. That's been part of it all along. We choose to ignore that sometimes. So, happy Interdependence Day. Because we're not independent ever. I think the tariffs are teaching us that we are so not independent, right? As a country, we're dependent upon other countries. As people, we're dependent upon other people. We're more interdependent today than we have ever been. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know how to pull a tooth, or fix a lawnmower, or make oil into gas to fuel my car. I don't know how to, I don't have room to raise chickens. I don't have a cow to milk. We are so physically, completely, in almost every way dependent on each other. And I was watching one of those programs the other day about people living off the grid. And it's like, great that they're living off the grid. But, they brought in these giant earth movers to dig wells so that they could live off the grid. And they brought, solar panels so they could live off the grid. We are so dependent upon one another. So, this is the thing that I'm always faced with every year around this time, around this holiday is, am I a patriot? So I don't remember where I was the other day, but somebody said, raise your hand if you're a patriot. And I went, and luckily it was all over before I had a chance to make up my mind. Other people had already raised them and put them back down. And I remember looking around the room and thinking, I wouldn't have thought that of you. I wouldn't have thought that of you. Am I a patriot? I love, according to this definition, the difference between patriotism and nationalism is that the patriot is proud of his country for what it does. The nationalist is proud of his country no matter what it does. So in that definition, I would call myself a patriot, not a nationalist, but a patriot. Adlai Stevenson said, patriotism is not short, frenzied outbursts of emotion, but the tranquil and steady dedication of a lifetime. Einstein said, nationalism is an infantile disease. It is the measles of mankind. I kind of like that. Benjamin Franklin said, where liberty dwells, there is my country. So that means I get to bring the country of freedom with me wherever I go, whatever I do. If I am free, then I'm free. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. So in that way, I don't have to be completely interdependent. I can be independent in that when I know who I am, well, that's kind of a double-edged thing, because when I know who I am, I know I'm part of everyone. So we're all incomplete without each other. Everyone is equally important. I grew up on military posts. I grew up singing those songs. That's why I know all the verses. I picked a few, but I know them all. I remember them. So I was used to these big, if you think that you are not moved by groups of people moving in perfect concert with one another, or big emotional music, or fireworks in the sky, I dare you to go to a military post and watch a 4th of July celebration. I was a part of a lot of those growing up, and I did. It's that it got to my emotions, and yet patriotism, as Adlai Stevenson so beautifully says, is not that emotional thing. That's not what it is. That's manipulation. I see that in the same way that I saw when I visited a church camp with my friend one time. It was a Baptist camp, so they were wild. But my mom let me go. So what I noticed is that all day long, the kids would just be jerks and doing all kinds of stuff that they weren't supposed to be doing, because I knew what the rules were and I stayed within them, which meant I probably had a resentment against those who flouted the rules. And then every night, there'd be all this music and all this speaking, and there'd be an altar call, and they'd come weeping down to the front and confess their sins and get saved again and again and again. And I remember even as a 13-year-old thinking, I think this emotional manipulation stuff isn't what it's really about. If you're not that all the time, and you can only be that when they're playing the music and the lights are low and whatever, it's that sort of idea. Who am I when it's not the holiday? Who am I when the lights are not low? Who am I when no one is looking? What do I value when no one's looking at me? Because that's a problem in our country, is that social media allows us to a place to communicate fully where no one is looking at us. And so we are generally not on our best behavior there. People say on social media things that they would really take a pause before saying one-to-one to another human being. And so if I'm going to post something on social media, which you know I'm not, but if I were, I would have to stop and say, wait a minute, if that person were standing right in front of me, if any of these people who are going to see this are standing right in front of me, how would I phrase this? Would I be kind? If I would be ashamed to not be kind with somebody standing right in front of me, then I need to be kind when someone's not standing right in front of me. So, songs, speeches, poems, fireworks, yeah, there's emotional manipulation in there. And yet, what I grapple with is, how do I love a country who disappoints, who falls short, who institutionally, consistently violates the principles it was based on? Here's what I do. If I can't find a reason, here's where I come to. It's where I am. I was born to this, so that means it's mine to deal with. You are either born to this or you came here probably on purpose. And so it's yours to deal with. It's yours to grapple with. You can't run from it. And so it's kind of like that song, Love the One You're With, right? We can fantasize about going somewhere else where people follow the principles upon which they're based. Where do you think that would be? Do you know a place like that? Yeah, we don't live there, so we don't actually know how that plays out in other countries. We know, here's what we know. All other countries are full of humans, and humans make a mess wherever we go. We have high ideals, and we don't live up to them. And that's not my business what your ideals are and whether you're living up to them. It's only my business what my ideals are and whether I'm living up to them. So this idea of how do I love a country that I don't always feel good about what it does? How do I stay here? What's mine to do here? I came up with some ideas. So one, to recognize our total interdependency, and y'all, therefore, complicity, right? If we're participating in it, you know, that's terrible what they're doing about that oil over there. I'm on my way to gas up my car because it's 10 cents cheaper at this place than it is at this other place. You know, I'm not saying it's my fault that I live in a society that I have to gas up my car to conduct my life, and yet I'm complicit. And when I understand that I'm complicit, that helps me to tread a lot more lightly in the world. It helps me to make sure that I'm making decisions based upon, to the best of my ability, what's best not just for me, not just for another, but for all of us. And so much of the time, y'all, that's not a choice of good versus evil. It's just not. It's a choice of I'm doing the best I can with what I have. So if I know that about myself, can I know that about other people? Because I am dependent upon them. We are interdependent. They're dependent upon me, and I'm dependent upon them. And so when we label somebody as other, we are hurting ourselves only, ever. So we're responsible for our participation in life as it is. And there's complexity there, you know? I start to think, I mean, I'm a nut about recycling. I don't want anything I don't like to use single-use items ever, if I can possibly avoid it. And I don't want to throw anything away that can possibly be used again, which I saw how that played out in my dad's life, which was that it took me like a year and a half to get his house cleared out because he kept every little 3-inch piece of string because he might use that someday. Try not to be that extreme, but there's the complexity of it. We're complicit, but it's complex. It is. It's not easy, and it's not about being guilty. I mean, when I say I want to recycle, well, I recycle, and then I read in the paper your recycling stuff is going to the dump. That happens. Did you know that? You carefully sort it out, you rinse things, you carefully sort them out, and then sometimes, if they don't have an immediate buyer, they throw it in the dump. So what do I do about that? Well, try harder to not use single-use items, but I promise you, Bob's not going to stop drinking Dr. Pepper. And I don't know how to get a Dr. Pepper order other than in a can or a bottle. And I'm not going to stop using canned beans, right? I try to use the dried ones when I can, but they come in a plastic bag. It's always something. It's always something. And isn't it interesting how we choose to focus on the things that we don't do, that they do, that they're complicit in? Well, kind of giving ourselves a pass on the things that we're complicit in because we know it's a complex issue. They are complex issues. So, understanding this tangled web and for our own freedom, practicing non-reactivity in our response. Can we do that? Can we say it's complex? We're all complicit. How can I show up and not be immediately reactive, not go into judgment mode? Yes, use my discernment, but don't allow my discernment to make me ignorant of what else is going on and the complexity of it. Here's the third thing. So recognize your total interdependency and then accept your responsibility for your complicitness in it. And 3, ask yourself in every situation, where is the love? Where's the love here? When you stand up or you see or you're on social media or you're watching the news or you're whatever, where is the love? And here's the secret. If you can't see it, it's because you're not giving it. If there's love missing, it's your love that's missing. So start thinking about how you can apply your love to these situations. It's complex, I know it is. But one thing I can do is to not use my thoughts to create people as others. I can use my thoughts to understand that we are us and that I don't always agree and that they don't always agree with me, but maybe I can't always assume I'm right. But if I'm loving, I'm right. It's your job to bring the love to the situation. The Course in Miracles says everything is either love or a call for love. Not a call for, you stupid idiot, how can you possibly think that? A call for love. If you don't see it, it's yours to give. 4, accept that there is ignorance in the world. Everywhere, including your own. And so, as we talked about last week, you can't do anything about anybody else's ignorance. The only way you could possibly teach them is by example. And the only way you could possibly teach by example is to tend to your own ignorance. Recognize it. At the very least, don't flaunt it. And seek to understand, as Scott so beautifully wrote about. Use your curiosity. Seek to understand. It's been said, and I can't remember who the quote is by, that there is no one that you couldn't love if you knew, truly knew, every detail of their story. Nobody comes and destroys worlds or opens gunfire or puts nasty things on social media because they got up that morning feeling really good about themselves and completely in love with the world and knowing securely that they are loved by the world. It's never happened. It's never going to happen. So you can't know their exact story, but you can know that they have one. And you don't know it in the same way that people might judge you because they think they know your story because of how you dress, where you live, what you do for a living, whatever. And know that nobody can know you. Nobody can know your story from the inside. But if they did, if they were able to get enough of the details, they would have to love you. Just as you, if you were able to get enough of the details of another person's story, that you would have to open your heart. Because guess what? That's what we're built to do. We're built to open our hearts. So accept all ignorance, tend to your own, and teach truth by example. Only by example. And know that in life there is pain. There is. That's what the Buddha said. Life is dukkha. And what he meant by that means, translates roughly to suffering. But suffering because we try to hold on to things that change or wish things were different from how they are. So we start by dealing with what is. And if it's messy, well, welcome to human life on planet Earth. And would it be this way if it were meant to be otherwise? Because here's a complexity to hold. I believe in God, and those people aren't doing it right. They don't even know the right God. They know a different God. Well, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that. I mean, I know. I got my opinions. Believe me, I've got my opinions. But this idea of if this is the way it is, which this appears to be the way it is for now at least, can I assume that God didn't get it right? That God's just not doing it right? That the world would be better if I were put in charge? Because I know what should happen. I know who should live and who should die. I know who should be put in power and who should be shut in a jail cell, right? Do you? Because we act like we think we know that. If the power were actually put into our hands, I don't know, I would freeze. Because I actually believe that God knows more about it than I do, because I cannot possibly have any perspective other than my own and the little bit that I'm able to open my human mind to get the perspectives of other humans by listening and using curiosity and allowing my heart to be open. That's as far as I can go in perspective, but I can trust that there is a much bigger perspective to all this, and that I may not be right. So, if life is pain, if life is change, if there's pain in life, however you want to say that, then our life, how to live our life, our whole life actually, is how we respond to that. How we react to it, how we respond to it. We mostly react. Sometimes we take a pause long enough to respond, to go, oh, wow, look at all these emotions. Whoo, don't know what to do with those, but I'm going to breathe into them instead of vomiting all over whoever happens to be in front of me. Or, like I do, I just scream at inanimate objects often, right? But who's being affected? Same as if I was screaming at a person. It would be affecting me more than them, because I'm the one recycling the vitriol. How can that be good for one, to recycle the vitriol? And so we take a breath and we say, what is the appropriate response to this? And if we're in our right minds, if we give ourselves long enough to be in our right minds, we say, well, the appropriate response is always love and compassion. Always. I don't even have to know the story to know that. Love and compassion, that's the answer. Do I know how to do it? I don't always know how to do it. But simply the awareness that love and compassion are the appropriate answer can keep me out of trouble, can at least keep me from reacting in a way that creates more of this disturbance, more pain, more suffering for myself and for others, because you cannot inflict suffering without taking it on yourself. When I say we are one, that means we are one. What you've done to me to them you've done to me. Jesus said that very explicitly. All the wonderful things you do for anyone else, you have done for the very Son of God. Guess who the Son of God is, right? And all of the terrible, miserable things you did or failed, good things that you failed to do, that you ignored for yourself, for Jesus, for the Christ, for the Son of God, for the whole, that one love that we talk about. So, how to celebrate a happy Interdependence Day? Enjoy your fireworks or sing your songs or abstain. It doesn't matter. Remember that borders are false. All of them. And yet in some way we all benefit from them. Think about how you may be benefiting from the borders that other people have created and the borders that we create. And ask, what false borders am I drawing? When I was a kid, we went to Texarkana. And my dad said, well, if you stand right here, you're standing both states. You're in Texas and Arkansas at the same time. And I'm like, where's the line? I couldn't find the line. The line is on the map. It's not on the territory. The map is something we made up. The territory is something that's actually happening. And yet we try to impose the map on the territory all the time. Change the map. Change the map. Do we need that border? We are the meaning makers. So I encourage you to find meaning in whatever way you possibly can. To open your heart to love, which allows you to begin to suspend judgment of people, even while judging policies. You can judge policies. You can work your tail to the bone trying to change them. I encourage you to do that. But we don't have to vilify people in order to do that. And here's the other thing. Look for the good and you will find it. If you're not looking for it, chances are it will miss you. But if you are looking for it, look hard. Sometimes it takes a lot to find it. But you will find something. Because we create our experience of this life. We create our experience of our country. We create our experience of this and other holidays. How are you going to create yours? With love or without? Thank you. Oops, she was preaching this morning. Or as Nancy says, meddling. Sometimes she says, now you're just meddling. Yeah. So let's take, sorry. Okay, thank you. I just got a message that Bob is okay. He just couldn't find his keys, which is why he's not here. So. Actually, before we go into meditation, Kay has written a really beautiful song I would like her to sing for you.
Want to see into the future that we're safe. See us not divided, but whole. Embracing every heart, mind, and face. United as one body and soul. To see the chaos and disaster averted. The fear anxiety released, our democracy no longer perverted, our country healed and at peace. Acceptance that science will help guide us to save our people, water, air, the earth. Committing to our allies, strong beside us, that we've regained our sanity and worth. To see the chaos and disaster averted, the fear and anxiety country healed and at peace. When we stand together, we are strong. When we live in truth, we are whole. When we know in our hearts we all belong, we'll be united as one body and soul. The chaos and disaster behind us, the fear and anxiety released, safe and sound in the one love that binds us, our country healed and at peace, our country healed and at peace.
Healed and at peace. Can't really do that to a country because it's a construct. What we can do is bring healing and peace to every human that makes up a country. And so let's take that responsibility right now for just a couple of minutes. Just breathe in deeply. As you breathe in, simply breathe in a feeling of peace. And if there's anything in there that's not peaceful, expel it as you breathe out. Breathe in peace. Breathe out anything unlike peace. And know that peace is our natural state when we live in love. It feels like others' violence pulls us from our peace, but it's only our response to that that pulls us from our peace. This is not to assign blame, but simply to learn to take responsibility, to take initiative, to have hope that this can change because I can change it. I can be the peace that's missing. I can be the peace that seems to be missing in my own heart when I'm agitated. I can be the peace in the room when everyone else seems like they're struggling to find theirs or have forgotten that they could have any. I can be the peace out on the highway, in the grocery store, in line at the bank. I could even be the peace at a political rally or a city council meeting, even if I staunchly disagree. I can make a choice for peace. And peace is not some namby-pamby, feel-good thing. Peace is a strong stand stance of absolute knowing that there is more to this life than appears. There's more to me than my reactions. There's more at stake here than I can know. And therefore, that much more incumbent upon me to find the peace within myself so that I can be an example of peace in the world. And encourage you to simply, as you go through your day today, when faced with annoyance or irritation or anger or rudeness or whatever, to pause long enough to remember that peace is a choice. Perhaps to make that choice, to call on help, because guess what? We're not alone. We draw from an infinite well of the peace that is God, the peace that is the one, the peace that is the one love. It is available to us. And so in this moment and in many quiet moments, we avail ourselves of it so that when the moments aren't quiet, we know where it is and we can find it more easily. Peace. It's who I am, it's who you are, it's who we are. And so in this moment, we remember. And in some mysterious way that we can't quite figure out and weren't meant to with these tiny human brains of ours, all truly is well. And so it is. Amen.